Jesus had crowds chasing him, people demanding, sick bodies, loud voices, deadlines, crises, pressure. And yet, he walked slowly. He paused. He prayed. He disappeared when everyone else said, "You have to do more." He didn't hurry, even when time was running out. What if peace isn't about getting everything done, but knowing when to stop? What if real freedom isn't found in control, but in stillness? Let's talk about the way Jesus handled worry, because his answer wasn't effort, it was presence. Why this message matters right now. You wake up tired. You're already behind. You pray. But your mind keeps racing. You check your phone and feel like you're already losing. People call it normal, but deep down, something feels off. This can't be the life Jesus promised. You're surrounded by noise, but your soul is starving for stillness. You don't just want peace for a weekend. You want something that lasts, something deeper, something sacred. Here's the truth most people miss. Jesus never rushed, never panicked, never let pressure dictate his pace. He wasn't controlled by outcomes. He was anchored in presence. And in this video, we're going to explore how he handled worry. Not by doing more, but by choosing holy stillness. You'll learn 4 simple, powerful ways to slow down, breathe deeper, and let God carry what you were never designed to hold. Because what you're feeling right now, that constant weight, that inner buzzing, that soul fatigue, that's not just exhaustion. That's spiritual malnutrition. Let's get into it. 1. Slow down on purpose. We're addicted to speed. We wear it like a badge of honor. Even when we're tired, we keep pushing. Even when our soul is begging for air, we feel guilty slowing down. Somewhere along the way, we believe the lie. More effort equals more value. If you're not busy, you're lazy. If you're not productive, you're falling behind. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Busyness doesn't prove you're important. Sometimes it just proves you're distracted. But Jesus, he didn't live like that. In Luke 5:16 it says, Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Not when he was burned out, not as a last resort. He stepped away before the pressure peaked. He slowed down on purpose. That's not weakness. That's spiritual intelligence. That's strategy from heaven. He had crowds chasing him, the sick, the desperate, the hurting, people literally running toward him for answers. And still, he walked away. He chose stillness, not to escape, but to reconnect. Because even the Son of God didn't carry spiritual weight on human momentum. Let that sink in. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you paused dash? Not because you crashed, but because you chose to stop. That's the invitation here, not to withdraw from life, but to create space within it, where you're not producing, not performing, not solving, just being with the Father. Call it a mini Sabbath. 5 minutes, no phone, no scrolling, no talking, just silence, just presence. Light a candle, look out the window, breathe deep, say nothing, and let God meet you in the stillness. Because rest isn't a reward for finishing the race. It's the rhythm that keeps you running. And ironically, when you slow down on purpose, you don't lose time. You redeem it. You reclaim your focus. You start to hear again. Not the noise, but His voice. But even when we pause, even when we pray, there's still that lingering voice. What about tomorrow? What if I fall behind? What if I don't get it all done? Jesus knew that fear too, but He had an answer, and it wasn't hustle. Let's talk about how He taught us to deal with the future without letting it steal the present. 2. Focus on today. Let go of tomorrow's weight. Worry has a pattern. It doesn't start with panic. It starts with drift. You begin in the present, and before you know it, your mind is 2 weeks ahead, imagining everything that could go wrong. What if I lose this job? What if they leave? What if I can't fix this? What if I'm not enough? And here's the dangerous part. Your body starts reacting to things that haven't even happened yet. You carry tension in your shoulders, your breath shortens, your spirit feels drained. But not because today is hard, because your soul is living in a future God hasn't called you into yet. That's why anxiety is so exhausting. Not because of the actual pressure, but because of the weight you're not supposed to be carrying. Jesus saw this in us, and he spoke straight into it. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. This wasn't Jesus being casual. It was him being protective. He wasn't minimizing your stress. He was freeing you from it. Because Jesus knew something we forget. God doesn't give you grace for imaginary days. He gives you grace for today, like manna in the wilderness. Just enough, just in time, just for now. So when you try to live tomorrow today, you're stepping into a space where grace hasn't gone yet. And of course, it feels overwhelming. You're operating outside your spiritual supply. This is not Jesus saying, don't make plans. This is Jesus saying, don't live in a day that hasn't come. Don't waste today's peace, trying to pre-fight tomorrow's battles. So here's a practical way to shift. Before the noise starts, before you touch your phone, ask this question out loud. Jesus, what are you calling me to carry today? And only today. Then, listen. Write down one sentence. Not 10. Not a to-do list. Just one. Let that become your anchor. Let it name your portion for the day. And when worry sneaks in with its what ifs and what then, you go back to that sentence. You go back to the present. You go back to grace. Because God doesn't meet you in hypotheticals. He meets you in the now. And you were never called to carry what hasn't even happened yet. But let's be honest, worry doesn't just come from the future. Sometimes it comes from people, from pressure, from moments when you're backed into a corner and everything in you wants to react. Jesus faced that too. But he didn't argue. He didn't over-explain. He did something more powerful. He stayed silent. And that silence, it wasn't passive. It was spiritual command presence. Let's talk about what it means to stay quiet. When your emotions want to scream. 3. Stay quiet when you're triggered. There's a kind of silence that isn't weakness. It's not fear. It's not passivity. It's power. Under control. When Jesus was brought before Pilate, accused by the high priests, mocked, slapped, spat on, he didn't argue. He didn't explain himself. He didn't defend his name. But Jesus remained silent. That line has stopped me more times than I can count. Because silence in a moment like that? That's not natural. That's spiritual dominance. See, we live in a world that worships reaction. Someone says something offensive, clap back. Someone misunderstands you, explain yourself. Someone hurts you, get even. But Jesus held still because he wasn't driven by ego. He was anchored in identity. He didn't need to prove himself because he knew who held the final word. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. When you're triggered, when someone disrespects you, when your name is twisted, when your buttons are pushed, your silence isn't weakness. It's a refusal to let someone else dictate your spiritual energy. You don't have to react to stay in control. You stay in control by choosing when and if to respond. But silence doesn't mean absence. Silence is space. Silence is sacred. Silence says, I trust God more than I trust this moment. So next time you're provoked, pause, breathe, and in that pause, whisper something small but powerful. Jesus, I won't defend myself. You defend me. That 10-second decision may not feel big, but in the spirit, it's warfare. And it keeps you rooted in peace when everything else is trying to pull you into chaos. But what about the burdens that don't come from other people? What about the ones that come from inside? The weight you carry quietly, day after day. Not the arguments, not the triggers. Just the heaviness. Jesus saw that too. And he didn't say, "Get stronger." He said, "Come to me." Let's talk about what it really means to let go and rest. 4. Surrender the weight. There's a different kind of worry, the kind that doesn't shout. It just sits there, heavy. It doesn't come from arguments or deadlines. It comes from carrying too much for too long. It's the financial weight you don't talk about, the emotional pressure of being the strong one, the fear of disappointing people, the silent grief, the anxiety you've learned to hide behind smiles and busyness. Jesus knew that kind of burden. He saw it in people's eyes, in their posture, in their silence. And he said something no religious leader had ever said before. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Not try harder, not fix yourself first. Just come. Come with the exhaustion. Come with the chaos. Come with the stuff you don't even know how to pray about. Jesus never promised us a life without weight, but he did promise that we wouldn't have to carry it alone. And here's the part we forget. Surrender is not weakness. It's the moment you realize you were never meant to carry everything. You were meant to trust someone stronger. So how do you start? Simple. Take 5 minutes. Write down 3 things that are making your chest feel tight right now. Name them. Don't filter it. Be raw. Then say it out loud, or whisper if you need to. "Jesus, I give this to you. It's too heavy for me." Then, rip the paper, tear it up. Not because the problem is gone, but because the ownership has changed. That physical act becomes a spiritual declaration. I'm not carrying this alone anymore. And maybe that's where peace begins, not when everything is fixed, not when the world slows down, but when your soul finally says, "I don't have to hold this anymore." So let's wrap this up, not with more effort, but with the kind of stillness Jesus lived in, the kind that still holds power today. The peace that doesn't need proof. Peace isn't when life calms down. Peace is when you do, even if life doesn't. Jesus never promised a life without noise, but he did promise a heart that could stay still in the middle of it. He showed us how. Walk slowly, even when people rush you. Stay rooted in today, not consumed by tomorrow. Choose silence over reaction. And surrender what you were never meant to carry alone. That's not weakness. That's Jesus-style strength. And maybe today, peace doesn't look like fixing anything. Maybe it just looks like pausing for 5 minutes and remembering God is already here. I don't have to carry this alone. I don't have to prove anything today. I just have to trust him with this moment. So as you step into the rest of your day, don't rush, don't explain, just stay close, stay still. That's what real spiritual strength looks like. And that's how you win the war with worry. If this brought your heart back to stillness, you'll want to see how Jesus handled betrayal, not with fear, but with unshakable peace. Watch next, how Jesus handled betrayal without losing his peace. You're not weak for needing rest. You're wise for choosing it.